my absolute pleasure to welcome Josef Schön from Audi. He is the Senior Manager for Corporate Strategy, responsible for sustainability worldwide and also for ASI as well. And he's going to be sharing with us today some plans and perspectives on the rollout of ASI at Audi. If you've got any questions, we want this to be an interactive session. Please use the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, and we look forward to moving to those questions. You can ask them at any time as we move through. So with that, I'm going to hand over to you, Josef. Please take us through.
Thank you very much, Fiona, and hello also from my side. Thank you very much for having me today. Having me for speak about the future of ASI at Audi, the rollout of ASI in our organization. And Max, just jump to the next slide, please. First of all, obviously, why is this important to us? Simply because aluminium is a very strategic material for our brand. It plays an enormous role, especially also in this let's call it upcoming age of electromobility, to compensate for the battery electric vehicle weight, as long as the batteries are still heavy. So the natural following is that the demand of aluminium within our company, I guess, within our whole industry, is going to increase, and so therefore we have the clear question: can this demand be satisfied from our supplies? And the session today should also encourage you to pick this up and to get your planning done well. Of course, there is some associated risk with aluminium. We all know about this, especially greenhouse gas footprint. And just to put it very simple, the most important reason for us going battery electric is greenhouse gas footprint. So therefore, it's important to not substitute one problem with the other, and therefore we have to have a very open eye on greenhouse gas footprint of all the material in this car, especially also aluminium, also especially because aluminium is more energy intense than other material, and so therefore this greenhouse gas footprint is really critical for us. Another, let's call it, rising star of issues is energy consumption. We all feel this with this transition from fossil energy into clean energy, with a shutdown here in Germany, for example, with all this nuclear power in parallel with jumping out of coal-fired power plants and so on. And this is already the first question. Then some shortages for other reasons here in Europe. So energy is really a problem, and we have to prove that we take care of our energy stewardship, and so therefore this is also a new thing to think about. And definitely the recycling approach, closed loop approach, whatever, will help a lot in tackling this issue. Obviously, some other ESG issues like human rights. We had some in the past, still some ongoing, and so on. So all those questions are extremely important, and those two aspects together, increasing demand and associated risk, leads us to one answer, and this answer is ASI. We count a lot on the Aluminium Stewardship Initiative, and let me simply say, the more ASI material we have, the better it is for us, because it helps us in the entire value chain to get this strategic material for us clean and out of discussion, and so this is what we are heading for. And Max, on the next slide, it is then the question: how do we do that? How do we act? And first of all, obviously, our own commitment. This own commitment, and you have seen in my starter page the rollout plan of Audi, and it goes even beyond that. It's the whole Volkswagen group. The individual brands of Volkswagen, they will also join ASI step by step as a joint membership. Audi will keep the spearheading role there, but all those other brands will get certified, and then also of course demanding ASI material. The second one is foster aluminium loops, because this is what we can do internally with our process scrap. We have been in this methodology already early. Processes are approved, are working well, and we are increasing volume more or less every month. So here, more things to come, meaning new factories getting certified against chain of custody, so that we also can deliver ASI certified material to our suppliers, and so on. And another, maybe a news story, is the end of life, the post-consumer scrap. Here are new things to come because of other effects, especially with upcoming regulation. We have to track and trace batteries for, again, material stewardship issues, and when tracking those batteries for the reason of recycling at end of life. First of all, with the battery housing, which is with this, let's say, conventional design, already around between, let's give it 70 and 100 kilogram of pure aluminium. Then we will get hold of this material and bring it back into the material loops, which will have hopefully a very positive effect. And it will not stop at the battery, because when we get the battery back, there is the whole car attached to it. So okay, we have even access to all those materials in the car, and this will help bringing up recycling rates and recycling volume, hopefully very well. Then last but definitely not least is our sourcing, ASI rollout. I will come to this in a minute, and also some extra greenhouse gas requirements. Honestly speaking, with those 11 tons, which is in the definition of the new standard, this is not enough for us. We are heading well below this. Even half of it would be not right. So this means we will have some extra greenhouse gas requirements for our suppliers for the supply chain, and there might not be enough material available, which is on the one hand ASI compliant, on the other hand this greenhouse gas requirement fulfilling. So we need to see how to deal with this aspect. I think we can then talk about this on an individual basis. But please come up to us with your capabilities, with your ideas, and the offer is definitely that we talk about this. How we can help in getting the requirements fulfilled and so on. But now to the ASI rollout, and Max, please jump to the next. For the ASI rollout, we have, let's call it a very simple approach. Looking here at this graphic, we see the aluminium weight per car, and the breakdown here is over the model lineup we have at the moment. The blue boxes are mainly second life cast components, motor block, whatever. The orange ones, which is, as you see, the most important, are the body sheets. And these body sheets we work on ourselves then in our production process. Then we have the gray one, which is some extruded structure components in the car, and another big block is the orange one, the light, or what is it, yellow, the rims, undercarriage, whatever component from primary material. And with this breakdown, we see, hey, there is a clear focus on own manufacturing, because this can be controlled on our own. And second, then of course on the heavy items, and so it's not a big surprise that we have started with the body sheets, and we are already, and thanks to our suppliers there, on a very good way, on a high percentage already ASI certified material there. So this is well on the way, and the next one in our rollout story is on a midterm basis. And midterm in automotive terms means let's give it let's say 3, 4, 5 years from now, always depending on our cycle plan, obviously. This own casting, we need to get certified on that. We are not yet today, but we will do this pretty soon. This means own casting, which is not too much. We talk about 10 kilograms per car, but the more important then will be the rims, which is quite heavy, between 60, and always depending on the model, but as an average, give it some 60 kilograms, which is quite a lot. And then the battery housing, of course, those 70 to 100 kilograms. So these are the next candidates. Then a bit after, we are looking at all the components in the car which have a weight above some 5 kilograms. There will not be a very sharp differentiation, but the ballpark is the 5 kilograms. Everything which is above this will also then get the ASI requirement, and then the long term, let's say 10 years, all the remaining ones, 1 to 5, and then at the end below 1 kilogram. So this is what we call our rollout plan. Another sorting criteria is obviously how many different suppliers we have in the various items. So this is a plan we are developing at the moment. We will finalize this by autumn this year, and in the meantime, we are definitely happy to get your feedback, your ideas, what can be done, also where we have to look at when we put all these requirements into our product specifications, which we are preparing at the moment. So we are happy to accept a dialogue there. We don't want to simply throw it over the fence on you, but do it in a work together with our suppliers. But not only suppliers, also the receivers of the closed loop material. They should also be in the loop. Well, those are my ideas, my story, my message to you, and the very last message. And Max, go to the next slide, or the last slide, is please help creating us the wave. We need this movement for sustainable material, and we know we cannot do this on our own, not alone. We need the whole family, the whole aluminium family there, and so therefore we are happy to have you. And now I'm happy to take questions from your side.
Great, thanks, Joseph. That was super interesting. We've had just a clarification question to start with. You mentioned midterm was sort of 3 to 5 years, sort of in the auto sector, and long term, you know, what sort of time horizon is that?
The long term is, let's give it, it's always a magic date, 2030, let's say in 10 years from now.
Very good. And so you talked about the new ASI standards and the 11 tonne per tonne, which is sort of a mine to metal number that we've moved to in the new standards, and that you're looking at kind of this Venn diagram in a way of ASI plus, you know, lower carbon footprint than that, and you know, whether that kind of availability is there. And that's one of the reasons, I suppose, where we're looking, you know, at that kind of whole emissions curve and making sure that that comes down, because unless that kind of drive for those outside that kind of lower number happens, you know, that pool doesn't get any bigger. And I was wondering too, we had a question in advance about you know, Audi's approach to carbon footprint. If you also wanted to talk a little bit beyond the sourcing side, but also some of the things that might be happening within your own operations, within your production, and so on.
Yeah, sure. We have also there a clear rollout plan in decarbonizing our own operations. It's not too much, honestly. When we look at the distribution of where all the carbon intense processes along the entire value chain of the car, the one happening within our own boundaries is fairly low. Doing this, we are going for solar energy, for wind energy. Obviously, we have. We have own power plants based on biomass and so on. So there we are on an extremely good way. Within the next few years, give it some 2-3 years, we will be carbon neutral on balance there. Some factories are already, but again, this is an let's call it easier job. Others in the supply chain have much more to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Harder to kind of abate. And then you talked too about some of that, the circularity piece, material stewardship, the end of life kind of considerations that you're looking at as part of this longer term plan and as part of the transition, obviously, of the automotive sector in general. I know these are still in development, I think, but are there examples that you could kind of share that you're looking at, particularly at the end of life piece? Is it around design for recyclability, sorting technologies, work on alloys, whatever?
Yeah. Obviously, we are looking at newer manufacturing methodologies. For example, as of today, we do a lot of gluing, and we will try to go back to screwing because the dismantling is much easier then. Also some modularity to put the whole car in pieces again. We are struggling with a methodology which is the cell to car design, because now we have this 100 kilogram protection block for the battery. And which is cost intense on the one hand, heavy on another, and so we are looking at integrating the battery cells directly in the car. But then we have a recycling issue. So this is we try to find our trade-off here, and which is not easy, and so there's a lot of brain power going into these questions. And the good thing is that people are really keen to optimize this internally. Yes, we are working on this, and new things definitely to come.
Exciting. So we've got a question about that. It's great to hear about the Audi Volkswagen Group commitment towards ASI, but what is your sense of the view of the overall automotive system or sector? Do you think that you guys are the beginning of this wave that you kind of ended with your slides?
Well, I cannot speak for the whole industry, obviously, but my feeling is there is no other way. And ASI is such an efficient system for us downstream. It helps us on a very direct way to get aluminium clean and sustainable. So yes, it's our preferred way, and so I think it should be also for the others.
Great. We have another question around whether Audi's got objectives to increase the amount of recycled material or secondary aluminium that you might be using, whether that's talking about recycled content. We talked about the 11 tonne per tonne. Obviously, that's in relation to primary aluminium.
Yep.
How's
Yep.
that mix kind of looking? There can be, challenges for certain applications and so on.
Yeah. There is one special part of the car, quite heavy, which is the rims, and it has to be a no-go zone for recycled material in the past because of safety issues, corrosion especially. But we have been working with suppliers on that to find an alloy which is eligible for secondary material, and we will bring this very, very soon on the market, and this will open up another, let's call it, channel into the car for secondary material. Also some others. We will create more of it. So this is one extreme. This whole circularity, this circular environment, this is extremely important, and on our priority list. I would say after carbon decarbonization, it's priority number 2.
Mm-hmm. We've got it as one of our 4 sustainability priorities as well. And so with that kind of second part to the same question from the audience is, do you have a percentage target around recycled material, or are you more looking kind of from a footprint lens, if you like? Because you talked before about ASI and kind of greenhouse gas.
Yeah, we haven't defined this percentage there. Let's call it as much as possible, but there are always some trade-offs we need to see. So nothing dogmatically fixed, but definitely extremely keen on getting as much as possible in there. And obviously with the footprint, we always do this life cycle analysis on various on all the materials going into the car already in the design phase of the car, and so we will see, does it make sense with, for example, polymers? It's not always the best idea. So it's to simply optimize regarding greenhouse gas. This is our priority number 1, and then we see what we can do then.
Yes, and I guess with the kind of secondary material as well, when you look at those sort of 1.5 degree aligned decarbonisation pathways for the sector as a whole, in fact, pre-consumer scrap sort of needs to come down as well. It needs to be more efficient use, so that will be less of a pool. Is that something that's also being looked at within the manufacturing side?
Of course.
Less waste from stamping, etc. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Definitely, yes. Also for the use phase of the car, in enlarging the use time, remanufacturing, refurbishment of cars, even some other business models, mobility as a service, we are looking at, because we feel our responsibility on how we design mobility for society. I'm absolutely convinced that mobility is a vital need from society, but on the other hand, it has to be sustainable, and we feel that we have to bring those 2 needs together, and so we are looking at all those things we have spoken, obviously.
Great. So there's a question here about whether you've got a carbon footprint reduction plan or requirements on top of ASI. You sort of talked on that a bit, but did you want to give a little bit more detail?
We haven't finalized this on the product level already, so we will be ready to detail this out in, let's say, also autumn this year, because the breakdown from what we have overall as the greenhouse gas abatement to the individual models and the individual components within the model it hasn't been done finally yet. So this is work in progress. By the, let's say, latest by the end of the year, we will be ready to do that.
Mm-hmm. Great. So there's a question about, are you going to be communicating the ASI requirements to suppliers proactively? I'm assuming yes, but I think you're still sort of finalizing the plan, and this is sort of a sneak peek at it, but I imagine that's something that you'll be doing, you know, as part of that kind of commercial.
We will get out a pre-warning, pre-information. Okay, this is more gentle, and then this will be a clear part of the future specifications. Again, also together with the greenhouse gas, this will also go into our specs. But then definitely yes.
Great. Another question about how do you change your purchasing portfolio or your supply base to get a reduction in CO2? Has there been kind of a shifting of that, or really a communicating outwards and trying to sort of cascade the change within that supply base, or a bit of a mix of both?
Not a clear answer from my side here. I guess it has to be a mixed one, because the supply market is not an easy one. We have to also deal with what is available, and so there is not a simple way doing this. We need to have a lot of flexibility to get the best out of it, what can be done.
Not a buyer's market at this point.
Yeah.
There's a question as well about what LCA valuation method Audi might have been using, particularly around recycled aluminium content, and looking at that distinction between pre and post-consumer scrap. So the question is, this might be something you're deep dived in, but if you have, you know, you can share some thoughts, whether that's a mass-based allocation or a cut-off approach, or if you just want to speak generally about maybe how that's being approached.
We are also working heavily on this with one focus component at the moment, which is the battery, because the battery is extremely important for us, and there we together with many other partners in the industry, we're working on various initiatives to find the right way of doing this. For example, in the Global Battery Alliance, we have a so-called greenhouse gas rule book developed just now to see, hey, how can we determine all those the various parts of the greenhouse gas in the value chain, and to see to create the transparency first, the common understanding, and then to see, okay, where is the right investment for abatement and so on. So also here, nothing fixed already, but a lot of energy involved to get this sorted out, and my feeling is in this world we will have a lot of change over the next few years, and then we will see.
Great. Another question. So how is Audi driving the market demand for cars that are lighter and smaller? They're kind of saying the carbon footprint per vehicle is certainly important, but then the numbers sold, as well, the volumes ultimately as well layer onto that too. Thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Because I was interested in your graph with the different models, and obviously that mix is going to change over time as well, and how that plays into certainly the ASI rollout strategy too.
Yeah. Well, at the moment we are a premium brand, and so therefore we are always coming top down, especially when we introduce a new technology like battery electric vehicles. So we place them on the market as to be, let's say, exclusive first, very high positioned, and so, and then step by step we will broaden the basis by making the smaller, the lighter cars, and so on. Also with the technologies inside, reducing then battery weight, for example, will allow for a lighter underwear of the car, and so on. So over time, this will get flattened there, and this is a very let's say natural development, and so but at the end of the day, we will get in the same volume numbers as we are today.
Great. We were talking a little bit before we started about the sustainability function within organizations becoming so central, that work kind of exploding as it goes across, and then the need for new people to kind of fill those roles, as well as retrain people, for example, in the automotive sector that might have been specialized in the internal combustion side of things, which is tailing down, and new skills kind of needed. How's that playing out in Audi?
Yeah, we have this, let's call it enormously demand for also internal know-how on sustainability in all fields of action, and so we are building up capacity there with this capacity building. A lot of training comes to the people on the, let's say, on a general level for the mindset. An automotive guy is more this petrol head, let's call it, and so this to think in a complete new way needs a lot of general understanding of also accepting this new way of designing a car and whatever. And by the way, it helped a lot that electromobility is much less demanding on design constraints and whatever. So you can have even sportier looking cars on electric cars and so on. So this is this general level, but also on some specific capabilities like LCA. This is a whole science, and so and training the people on this, because the market is almost empty. So we have to train internal people on this. This is a huge undergoing. Many streams here internally are necessary for the whole transition of this industry.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic insight. Thanks, Joseph. A couple of questions that we might be able to get to before we start to wrap up. One is around, with this rollout of the ASI sourcing strategy, is that going to apply to factories all over the world, for example, in China and other places as well? Or is that another factor in the kind of steady rollout you talked about, weight, volume, suppliers type?
A steady rollout, of course, because all those very sharp edges we try to avoid, because the process has to be smooth and so on. This is a clever way.
Great. A question here too, and I think you touched on this with the rims example, but in looking at the use of recycled aluminium or increasing that in future, are you deterred by very strict surface quality requirements that you know, make primary aluminium currently necessary for certain applications?
Yeah, yeah, but also this is what we are working on. Let's call it somehow relaxing also our specification. We are heading into a sustainable future, and there will be some parts of what we have loved in the past which will not be possible in future, and for all the individual people as well. So there will be some changes, whether it's in the surface quality, I cannot predict, but definitely there will be some value shifts within the product. Where they are exactly will be, I cannot speak about, but there will be something which will help sustainability to get to a material level, definitely. There's no way around this.
Exactly, I think, yeah. And I wanted to touch on, you mentioned around expanding ASI certification beyond the current to other, I think it was the casting facility, internal casting in future and so on. And I think currently your chain of custody certification covers the press shop. Can you talk a little bit about what it's been like to implement chain of custody, you know, the material accounting or some of that side of things? How have you found it?
Mm-hmm. I would say extremely efficient. It was, it didn't feel somehow artificial, requesting something which is, why should we do that? No, it's somehow easy. It's just putting the pieces together we have already done before, and then and get them in the right order with addressing some clear responsibilities which we didn't have before, and that's it. So it wasn't really a big deal.
Great to hear. Hopefully that's encouragement for others as well to look into that in future. Yeah. So we are getting close to time. There was one question about aluminium demand globally for the next 10 years. I don't know if you're able to answer that, Joseph, but certainly there's information available from the International Aluminium Institute that you can get to from our website as well, or search for World Aluminium and their 2050 demand studies that have been done and made public. And so any other closing reflections, Joseph, before we wrap up?
Well, first of all, thank you for all those questions, which have been right to the point to show me that you folks are heavily interested in this overall story, and it's just again help creating this wave together, and then I think for the aluminium industry, this will be a great future.
Fantastic. Well, I want to give you my sincere thanks, Joseph, on behalf of everyone, for an excellent presentation and really dynamic kind of discussion section. Great questions from the audience, I agree. And for all the work that you've done within ASI, certainly as part of the Standards Committee at certain times and other engagement that we've had along the way, and your support and growing support by the sounds with the broader Volkswagen family becoming part of ASI in future soon too, we hope. So with that, we've been perfectly on time in a perfectly German and efficient way for our 45 minutes. So thanks again, Josef, and we'll wrap up there and wish you all an excellent day. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye, everybody.